The 1969 Washington quarter is a significant coin in the United States, primarily for collectors who are interested in the Washington series, which began in 1932. While 1969 itself is not the year of any revolutionary changes to the quarter's design, certain rare variations of this coin do exist, which have garnered the attention of numismatists and investors alike. The Washington Quarter, a brief history. The Washington Quarter was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the birth of George Washington, the first President of the United States. Designed by John Flanagan, the coin features a left-facing bust of Washington on the obverse, with the inscription "Liberty" above and the year 1932 below. The reverse features an eagle perched on a branch, with the inscriptions "United States of America" and "E Pluribus Unum" along with $quarter. The coin has seen various design changes, particularly on the reverse side, but the obverse design has remained largely unchanged for most of the quarter's existence. For nearly 40 years, this quarter design continued as the standard for U.S. currency, until it was replaced by the 50-state quarters program in 1999. However, the design was briefly altered during the bicentennial year in 1976, where the reverse was redesigned to feature the image of the Continental Congress, but the general design remained intact until the statehood series began. 1969 Washington Quarter, regular issue and variations. The 1969 Washington Quarter is part of the regular series of quarters, struck by the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Unlike some years in the quarter series that are famous for rare or unique errors, 1969 does not stand out due to any major changes to its design or composition. Nonetheless, there are specific rare varieties of the 1969 quarter that collectors seek. The 1969 Washington Quarter features the same copper-nickel composition, with 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, and weighs 6.25 grams, with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters. It is often distinguished by its year of issue, but its value primarily comes from its condition and whether it contains any unusual features or errors. The rare 1969 Washington Quarter error coins. While most 1969 Washington quarters are not inherently rare, there are certain error coins from this year that have made headlines among collectors. These errors include die cracks, off-center strikes, and the more notable double die variety. Double die error. The 1969 double die error is one of the most sought-after variations of the Washington Quarter. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin is improperly aligned or experiences some type of malfunction. This causes the design to appear twice, with each image slightly shifted. The 1969 double die is particularly famous because the doubled features are very clear, especially on the "In God We Trust" inscription and the date itself. The 1969 double die is highly collectible, and while not every coin with slight doubling is valuable, specimens with significant doubling can fetch prices of hundreds, even thousands of dollars, depending on their condition and the clarity of the doubling. Well-preserved examples in mint state can command a premium price at auctions or through reputable dealers. Off-center strikes. Off-center coins occur when the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process, causing the design to be partially or fully struck off the edge of the coin. These coins can be highly collectible, depending on how much of the design is missing and how well the coin has been preserved. The 1969 off-center Washington Quarter can be rare and valuable, especially when the misalignment is severe. Die cracks and other minting errors. In some cases, the dies used to strike coins may develop cracks, which can lead to a distinct pattern of raised lines on the surface of the coin. The 1969 Washington Quarter may feature die cracks in various locations, such as along Washington's portrait or the date. While these errors do not typically add significant value to the coin, they can make certain specimens more desirable to collectors. The value of a 1969 Washington Quarter. For most 1969 Washington quarters, the value is relatively modest. These coins are generally worth their face value of 25 cents, or a small premium if they are in uncirculated condition. For example, an uncirculated 1969 quarter from the Philadelphia Mint, which has not been subjected to wear, may fetch around $1 to $2, depending on its condition. However, the value of a 1969 Washington quarter increases significantly if it is in particularly high grade, such as MS 65 or higher, or if it has one of the aforementioned errors. For example, a 1969 double die error in high grade can sell for several $100s or more. Some auctions have seen these coins sell for as much as $1,000 or more, depending on the severity and quality of the error. Additionally, coins from Cert. The 1965 Washington quarter, value, history, and rarity. The 1965 Washington quarter is a significant coin in U.S. numismatic history, not only because of the events surrounding the change in coinage composition during the mid-1960s but also due to the rarity of certain varieties and errors. This coin is part of the Washington Quarter series, which began in 1932 to honor George Washington on the bicentennial of his birth. While the Washington Quarter's design has remained largely consistent since its introduction, the 1965 edition holds a unique place due to the specific changes in the metal composition used to mint it and some key errors that make certain coins rare and valuable. Historical context of the 1965 quarter. The Washington Quarter underwent a dramatic shift in 1965 when the United States government, responding to a national coin shortage and rising silver prices, decided to change the composition of several circulating coins, including the quarter. Before 1965, the U.S. quarter was composed of 90% silver and 10% copper. However, starting in 1965, the U.S. Mint began producing quarters with a copper-nickel-clad composition, which consists of a core of pure copper and two outer layers of copper-nickel alloy. This change was a response to the rising cost of silver, as the U.S. government sought to reduce the cost of minting coins while also combating the hoarding of silver coins. For the 1965 Washington quarter, this meant that the coin was now made from a sandwich-like metal composition, copper-nickel on the outside and a pure copper core, making the 1965 quarters distinct from earlier years. Notably, the change in composition led to a significant drop in the silver content of the quarter, which was a key factor in the rarity of certain earlier silver quarters, such as those minted in 1964 and earlier. The design of the 1965 Washington quarter. The 1965 Washington quarter retained the same basic design as previous Washington quarters. The obverse features a left-facing bust of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, with the inscriptions, "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the year, 1965. The reverse depicts an eagle perched on an olive branch, with the inscription, "United States of America," and "E Pluribus Unum," surrounding the eagle, along with the words, $quarter. The design of the Washington quarter remained unchanged for many years, including in 1965. This consistency in design was meant to honor the nation's first president and was well received by the public, as Washington remained a central figure in the American collective memory. The 1965 Washington quarter, no silver content. While 1965 is a year that stands out for the change in coin composition, the Washington quarter minted in that year is particularly notable for the absence of silver content. This is in stark contrast to earlier quarters, which contained 90% silver. The 1965 quarter, along with the half-dollar and dime, was part of the U.S. Mint's decision to eliminate silver from most circulating coins starting that year. In addition to the lack of silver, the 1965 quarter has a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This transition had a profound impact on the coin's intrinsic value. Prior to 1965, a quarter's silver content was worth more than its face value. However, with the 1965 Washington quarter and later clad coins, the metal composition meant the intrinsic value of the coin was less than the face value, which in turn reduced the likelihood of hoarding coins purely for their metal content. Rarity and value of the 1965 Washington quarter. For most of the population, a 1965 Washington quarter is not considered particularly rare. These coins were minted in large quantities, and they continue to circulate in the market regularly. In fact, the 1965 Washington quarter had one of the highest mintages of any quarter, with over 1.8 billion coins struck across all mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. As a result, most 1965 Washington quarters are found in average circulated condition and are valued only at their face value, 25 cents, or at a small premium if they are in particularly good condition. However, certain rare and valuable versions of the 1965 Washington quarter do exist, particularly due to errors that occurred during production. Error coins are often highly sought after by collectors, and these can significantly increase the value of a particular coin. Rare 1965 Washington quarter errors. Although the 1965 Washington quarter was not particularly remarkable in its design or mintage, some rare errors did occur during the minting process that can make certain examples highly valuable. The most notable of these errors are the double die and clipped planchet varieties. Double die error. The double die error occurs when the die used to strike the coin has multiple impressions, causing the design to appear doubled in certain areas. In 1965, a small number of quarters were struck with a doe.